This is our fourth date night, and we aim to do 2 of these a year, and we're just really excited to be able to offer these large events for you guys to just invest in your marriage. And tonight we're extremely privileged to have the Parrots with us, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. Before we do, I just wanted to remind you, it's our goal to try and provide as many marriage resources as we possibly can for wherever you're at in your marriage journey. So we've got these large date nights that we do twice a year, but we have, if you guys haven't checked out our marriage webpage, just go to celebrate.church/marriage, and it's got all kinds of cool stuff on there. It's got upcoming events. It's got, in fact, this year we're looking at doing some more discussion panels and some more classes, of course, a date night again in the fall. But we've also got, you can sign up for Marriage Boost, which is every Monday morning there's a marriage devotional that comes out. There's, you can sign up for we have weekly marriage check-in emails and encouraging texts on Friday evenings. We also have an amazing marriage podcast. Have you guys checked out our marriage podcast yet? We just did, I think we just came out with our 23rd or 24th episode, and I think within the next week, between YouTube and Spotify and Apple, we're going to hit like 10,000 plays total. So we're really excited for that, and got some great guests lined up as well. So I just want to encourage you, check out our podcast if you haven't. But past message series that we've done on marriage, marriage articles, and just so many cool things for you to check out. So that's celebrate.church/marriage. And with that, we're going to get into it. And I'm going to introduce our guests for tonight. They have joined in via Zoom, and we're going to, there they are. Would you please welcome Les and Leslie Parrott?
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
Good to be with you.
I love that warm welcome.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you guys know how this came about, first of all, and then we'll start. The Parrots were not originally supposed to be part of this date night. We had some other plans. Actually, we had a few different plans, and we were just trying to figure out what we were going to do. We had the date picked, and I knew that some things weren't going to line up, and I had a feeling things were going to fall through. And so we were just kind of in this, I'm not really sure what we're going to do. We have a date picked, but we don't really know what's going to happen. And we had launched our podcast, and if I remember correctly, I was reaching out to some different people, and the Parrots, I think I sent an email on their website, just, hey, if there's just a long shot that you guys would ever be willing to be guests on our marriage podcast, that would be awesome and amazing. And I remember getting a phone call, and I noticed it was like from Washington, and so I answered it. And Les Parrott he's like, hey, Chris, this is Les Parrott. And I was like, wow, Les Parrott's calling? It was amazing. Like, Les Parrott's calling me because, we read their books, and we use their materials for premarital counseling and our marriage mentoring. We use their marriage mentoring book, so it was really cool. So Les Parrott was calling. But he called because he was looking at our marriage website and noticed that we had a date night planned for this particular date. And he said, hey, I don't know if you guys have plans yet or not, but we do this Better Love date night, and just wanted to let you know. I think you guys even had a cancellation or something, and I was like, And so I think I said, I'll get back to you, and I just had to make a couple quick confirmations, and it was a done deal. So I say that because I really feel like this is a God thing tonight, and this is supposed to happen, and we're supposed to hang out with the Parrots tonight. So thank you so much just for reaching out, and I know you guys' heart is for marriages and for the church, and so thanks for all that you guys do. But maybe just to allow about 200 people here tonight to get to know you guys. I know you guys write tons of books, and you guys are you're getting the experts on the whole subject of marriage. These guys are the experts, and this is a complete privilege to have them with us. But could you just tell us a little bit about yourselves, and obviously your passion is for marriage, godly marriages, but how did this all start? And maybe just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, we have the same name. So if you're meeting us for the first time, you're going, did he say Les and Leslie? Yeah, I'm Leslie and she's Leslie.
Yeah.
It's even more complex because I'm the third, which means my dad's name is Leslie and my grandfather's name is Leslie. And then I'm married to Leslie. And that's why we named our first son John.
Yep.
So John Leslie, however. But yeah, we are. I'm a psychologist.
I'm a marriage and family therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been married for 40 years in June.
In June,
Almost 40.
Yes.
Yep.
and we do write marriage books. In fact, all those books are behind my head. Believe it or not, that whole shelf of books are Les and Leslie books.
Yeah.
But we've been at this for a while. But it really is an honor to get to be with you guys tonight. Do you guys know what a BHAG is? Ever heard of a BHAG? Raise your hand in the audience if you've ever heard of a BHAG.
Oh,
Shout it out.
yep.
What is it?
Not too many hands going up here.
Hand though I saw. Shout it out.
Big, hairy, audacious goal.
That's
He
it.
nailed it.
Right. A big, hairy, audacious goal. Here's ours. We want to see the divorce rate reduced by a third
Mhm.
in our lifetime
Right.
in local churches. That's what we get up in the morning thinking about. How do we build tools? How do we create movements and connections that do that? And I know some of you are thinking, oh, wow, that's like, yeah, that's a big, hairy, audacious goal. Good luck with that because you're never going to achieve that. And I got to tell you, we're more optimistic about it than we've
Yes, we are.
ever been
Yeah.
because we know what it takes to make a marriage work. There's no longer a guessing game on how do we help couples with marriage. We know what moves that, proverbial needle. So anyway, that's what makes us tick and what we do.
It is. That is our passion, right? And we're pilgrims with you on the marriage road, right? We're not just experts, but we're living this out in the trenches right beside you. And it's passionate for us.
Yeah.
And by the way it impacts children when we reverse the divorce rate.
Yeah. In fact, for every single percentage, every percentage point that we drop the divorce rate,
Yeah.
the lives of more than 1 million children are positively impacted. Think about that.
Yeah.
Incredible, right? So anyway, that's why if you've ever heard of a matching company, we designed the very first and founded the very first matching company online with Neil Warren called eHarmony. That was all done out of an effort to lower the divorce rate and our program Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts and so forth. And before we jump into this stuff here, Chris and Karen, let me suggest one more thing, a tool that you guys might find helpful. Get your phone out if you have your phone handy. And I'm going to suggest that you go to a URL. So go to your browser and go to a URL that is loveology.org. This is totally free. I'm not going to ask for your
Always will be. Yeah.
no email or phone number or anything necessary. Loveology, like psychology.org, O-R-G. And what you will find at loveology.org are hundreds and hundreds of free videos, all about 5 minutes, answering specific questions.
Yeah, these are literally the experts in the field of marriage and relationships. They're experts in biblical wisdom and skilled experts in their specialty. And they are dropping wisdom bombs just for you on the specific needs that you have for your marriage. The questions you have are lined up with the expert who can speak to that. And it's all there at your fingertips right when you need it in these short 3 to 5 minute wisdom bombs.
Yeah. And did I mention it's free, F-R-E-E-E,
Yeah.
so you don't have to pay a dime for it.
Cool.
And thank you.
You guys get that?
That's a great resource. Thank you so
That's
much.
an incredible resource. Yes, absolutely. You guys, how many here were able to bring or complete their assessment and bring it with you? Okay. Awesome. A lot of hands.
Most of the hands.
Awesome. Well, we're excited. Parrot's going to be walking us through that and teaching us some really cool things. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys.
Well, awesome. What I want you to do is go ahead and bring that report out. And We're going to look at not every page of this thing together, but I'm telling you, set this up a little bit for us, can you?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. We are so pleased and proud that for your date night, you've already invested and taken this assessment. And let me tell you what the big goal is about this for you. There are two amazing things that happen as a result of you investing in this way. The first is that it's going to increase your level of awareness about who you are and what you're bringing to marriage. And that's a powerful tool, right? Awareness is powerful.
Absolutely. And we sometimes say it's even curative,
Right.
You can't change anything unless you are aware of it. And the second thing it'll do is deepen your capacity for empathy.
Yes.
Empathy. When was the last time you were conscious of empathy?
Right.
That you deliberately said, oh, you know something? I really want to put myself in my spouse's shoes, see the world from their perspective right now. Most of us don't think that way. This is going to make that so much more easy.
Well, it's almost like a shortcut because it not only gives you awareness of you and insight and those aha moments, but it gives you really cool glimpses into why your spouse is the way they are and who they are. And that deep knowledge creates empathy and makes it possible.
And what it'll do, the bottom line is, you ever seen one of these before? This is known as a Hoberman sphere by an engineer that put this thing together. It's got a lot of hinges. What that's going to do is expand your love life because when you have self-awareness and you have empathy in your relationship, you make better decisions that begin to expand. And then you begin to realize, oh my goodness, this relationship is bigger and better than I ever thought it could be. And the Holy Spirit can do those kinds of things when we begin to make wise decisions.
That's better love, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you have this report in front of you. Go ahead and turn to page 2 that has this little symbol on it for you right there. And what you'll discover is that this is a depiction of how God hardwired you. Okay. It's not something that you're going to go, oh, you're here. You need to be over here. No, this is how God made you.
And there's no better way. They're all great.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way. You can't pass or fail this. So let's look at this a little bit for just a second. You can tell that there's 8 different personality types around there. The pioneering spouse and the encouraging spouse and so forth, all the way around there. And just set that aside for a moment. And I want you to focus on these little circles right there. Do you see those little circles? Up here at the top, it says task-oriented. Down here, it says people-oriented.
Right.
So if your picture is on these top 3 up here, that means you're task-oriented. Well, what does it mean to be task-oriented?
Yeah, if you're task-oriented, that means that you wake up every single day of your life with one compelling thought, and that is what needs to get done. You are all about it.
Right. You probably have a to-do list, and probably the very first thing on your to-do list says, make to-do lists, right? And if you're like me, you want to get stuff done. If it's not on your to-do list, what do? You write it on your to-do list so you can scratch it right off your to-do list, right? There's just something about getting a task done.
Right.
And as I'm saying that, some of you in the audience that are up here are going, yeah, preach it, brother. I know that feeling, amen. And then other people that are down here on the bottom are people-oriented.
Right.
And they're going, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't relate.
I don't relate. What does it mean to be people-oriented?
If you're people-oriented, you wake up every day of your life with a very different compelling thought, and that is, who is it that needs my attention? Who needs my attention? And you direct every bit of yourself to the people in your life. That's what compels you.
Yeah. And so here's what I want to ask in the audience. How many of you are on the top portion here squarely? You are task oriented. Go ahead and raise your hands, would you? All right. And then how about people that are people oriented and you're down in this area down here? Okay.
Okay.
All right. One is not better than the other.
Right.
They are just different. Okay. Task oriented and people oriented. By the way, I'm task oriented. Leslie is people-oriented. That doesn't mean, oh, that's difficult for us. It's just we're aware of it. Okay. And that's it. Okay. We appreciate what each of those does. Not that we did that early on in our marriage.
No, because it's really different energy. If, for example, when you're on a task, if I try to get your attention, it doesn't always go smoothly.
Right.
Right at the start.
Absolutely. If she comes in my
Yeah.
office and says, hey, you got a second? I don't just drop everything in the middle of the email that I'm writing. What do? Any ideas? Any predictions? What I do as a task-oriented person? It involves this finger. I just put up that one
Yes.
finger. I don't even have eye contact with
Yeah.
her. All right. And that just means what? Give me a minute. I got to finish this task. As soon as I finish this task, I'm going to be right with you.
Right.
Okay. So that, and if I go into Leslie's office, who's people oriented, and I say, hey, you got a second? She doesn't ever just put a finger. She just says, yeah, what's going on? She swivels around in her chair. Come on in, have a seat. Right.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what else is going on. That's kind of part of the distinction.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it really helps awareness, empathy, right?
Yeah.
Different ways to focus.
So, Chris, are you task oriented or people oriented?
Well, we're actually on the side.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good point.
I'm glad.
We're the slower paced. We're on the slower paced side over there.
Oh, we're getting to pace here in just a second, but you're in between task oriented and people. You're right on that midline.
We're both on that same thing
Okay.
there.
We're on
Yeah.
the same flower petal.
Okay, so that means you can step into either one of those when you need
Yeah.
to, back and forth.
Not extreme on either direction.
Ambidextrous.
Right?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
you
Yep.
brought up pace. Let's talk about that. That's the
Yeah.
little yellow
Is that-
circles, and that's fast paced and slow paced.
Right. This is
What does
another
that have?
core dynamic at the heart of our personalities. If you're fast paced, that means that you move through life with a very great sense of urgency, right? It doesn't matter if you're moving toward people with exuberance or you're moving toward a task with expedience. You are going at a fast clip. It's
absolutely.
urgent.
Yeah, I came home from the grocery store with Leslie a little while ago. I'm fast paced, and I think there might have been a half dozen grocery bags, plastic grocery bags or handle, whatever, little handles on them. And Leslie says, "Oh, I'll go get the cart and bring it over to the car so we can get these, you know." And what do you think I did as a fast paced person while she's getting the cart?
Put them all on your arm.
Absolutely. And said, open the doors. I got all of them, right? You know, and I'm coming through. Why would you take 2 trips to do something that could be done in 1 trip?
Or wait for a cart.
Yeah.
You don't have time for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you're slow paced, what does that mean?
Yeah. And now listen, slow paced is a very different kind of energy. And before you think this is some kind of a slur, it's not. You're not lazy if you're slow paced. And it's not that you don't get things done. It's that your energy is very deliberate and strategic. And you move through life, whether it's toward people or tasks, with intentionality, not urgency.
Yeah. And so it's kind of, you notice the difference if you look at somebody that's getting ready for a road trip. All right. And so the fast paced person, it's the morning we're going, we got to pack the car, put the luggage in the trunk.
Yeah.
They're just, what are they doing? Tossing, come on, we're burning daylight. Let's go, go. And get everybody in the car. Just throw it in the trunk. Let's just go, you know. Now, not if you're slow paced. If you're slow paced, you're going, hold on, let's put these in here the right way, because I think I might need to get to this bag before I get to that bag. And if we stop here, I want to be able to blah, 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 blah.
Look
And
at
they're
Karen
thinking
nodding.
through, right? And so suddenly the trunk of the car has become a game of Tetris, right? And you got to get everything in just so. And so that's the difference between fast paced and slow paced in so many ways. Again, one is not better than the other.
Right.
One's not right. One's not wrong.
Yeah. We should find out,
Yeah. So
our
let's
group.
ask the audience.
Yeah.
How many of you are fast paced? Go ahead and raise your hands.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And how about the opposite? Slow paced, raise your hands. All right, there you go. See how slow those hands come
Yeah.
up? Yep.
Yeah. You can feel it.
And so again, and this comes from research, by the way, that is like over 75 years old. This is not just new.
This is stuff
armchair.
Harvard University has been on for 80 years.
Absolutely,
Right. Yeah.
right. So these two continue. What that will do is land you in one of 8 little petals around this little pinwheel.
Right.
Okay. And I think that Karen and Chris, you said you both landed in the same one. You're both deliberating. Is that right?
Yeah, we're both on the exact same pedal. Yep.
Okay. So you're both slow paced and you are in between task oriented and people oriented.
Yes.
Okay. Which makes you deliberating. Do you resonate with that phrase, deliberating, and the 3 words underneath it there?
Devoted, accurate, and disciplined. Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
That's good.
Chris?
What's that?
Do you resonate with those 3?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's us.
Chris, did you have something else you need to do? I couldn't tell there what.
He's moving at a very deliberate
We got
pace.
some microphone issues, so and I was trying to read. I'm at that point in life where either it's through my glasses or not through my glasses, and it's kind of a chore right now. So yes, but yes, absolutely.
So here's what I want to point out. You have a paragraph that describes you on this
Yeah.
page. Each of you do. Everybody in the audience does too. And you might be thinking, oh, okay, so I'm getting one of 8 paragraphs around there. Now, you guys, Karen and Chris, since you're on the same one, you can tell us immediately, your paragraphs are not the same. In fact, nobody's paragraph is the same
Yeah.
as anybody else's paragraph in this room, because we have nearly 40,000 variables that go into each of these paragraphs, which means that's yours. It's really customized to you.
Even if you have the same personality dynamics, you have uniquenesses.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, I want to make sure everybody in the audience understands this. The goal is not to be like Karen and Chris. The goal is not to get on the same pedal. You're going to be wherever you are.
Right.
And trust me, Karen and Chris have their own challenges because
Sure.
they are on the same pedal.
Right.
And there's sometimes an advantage to even being the direct opposite of your spouse, as iron sharpens iron sometimes.
But there's no perfect combination, just like there's no best personality, right? For married life.
I
Yeah.
would probably say the fact that we're where we are, sometimes things don't get done.
Our kids can definitely attest to that.
Yes.
Because you guys, when you do get something done, you want to make sure it's done the right way.
Yeah.
So you will probably tend to put some things off, whereas the fast-paced person might go, it's good enough. Just get it done. Just go.
You know it's true when Karen made a comment. You know it's true sometimes when your kids actually make comments. Yeah, it won't ever get done. Mom and Dad won't ever get it done. that has happened. So
Yes. We have our honest accountability partners.
So on these 2 paragraphs here, I want you guys at your own pace sometime to read through those, everybody in the audience, and then you can, you don't have to agree with everything that's on here. I want to let you off the hook right away. The point is not to force you or label you and say this paragraph is you, whether you agree with it or not. No,
Right.
you might disagree with some things on here. So
Sure.
feel free to scratch out a sentence if you don't agree with it.
Mhm.
However, before you do that, check in with your spouse to see if they agree with you that you should scratch that sentence off. All right.
Right.
Why? Because sometimes we have blind spots and they see
Yeah.
something in us that we don't see in ourselves. Leslie and I had a couple in our counseling office a little while ago, and his very first sentence on there said, you are often late to important events. He said, well, that's not me at all. I'm going to scratch that right off. And his wife said, are you kidding? You were late to this counseling appointment we're in right now. Right. So we have to sometimes make sure we're open enough
Right.
to hear feedback.
Open to feedback, but also the point is this is not just a diagnostic, it's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
And you're the experts on you have that conversation, become aware and really know.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, there's an action plan, and we'll say more about that before we're done
Yeah.
here tonight, that'll help you unpack all of these pages. But this is where we want to start because
Yeah.
it's the foundation. Imagine imagine, Karen, if Chris came home tomorrow night after work and he said, hey, I've been thinking about it, Karen, and by the way, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. So imagine if he came home tomorrow and he said, hey, from now on, I've thought about it. I prayed about this. I really want you to write with your left hand. And you'd go, what? Why? I just feel like it's better. It's easier for me if you would be left-handed from now on. Well, I don't want to be left-handed. I know you don't, but if it's better for our relationship. And you just go on, and he finally makes a case, and you go, okay, I'll try.
Right.
I'll do what I can, right?
Yeah.
And so you start to write with your left hand. Oh my goodness, it feels so awkward. And you sign your name. It doesn't even look like you. It certainly doesn't feel like you. Sometimes that's what's happening in our marriages when we go, hey, why can't you be more deliberate? Why can't you be more fast-paced? Why can't you be more task-oriented? I've been asking you for 3 weeks now to change that light bulb, and you can't seem to do it because you keep going out with your friends and blah, 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 whatever the thing is, right? And so we're constantly feeling, especially if you're not on the same pedal, we're constantly feeling like we're trying to convert that person to our way of being. But let me tell you, that's a fool's errand.
Yeah.
It's a fool's errand because that's how God made them.
Right.
It's not going to change.
And their best opportunity to be a great spouse is if they can be their best in the personality God created in them.
Absolutely.
Right? Not if they try to be something they're not.
So this isn't
Yeah.
characterological. This is your personality, your DNA.
Right.
But you, like Leslie's saying, you want to be the best version, the healthiest version.
For
of
sure.
yourself.
We can all grow, we can mature, but we don't mature out of our personality. We mature into it. It ripens.
Absolutely. So I sometimes like to just think of this through the lens of biblical characters.
I
And I'll
love
do this
that.
real
Yeah.
quick, and then we can move on to more pages. But and by the way, we're not going to go through every page of this report. So some people in the audience are going to go, "How long is this?" But this is the basis, the most important foundation. But if you think about biblical characters and how they all add value to the kingdom,
Right.
it's you start with people that are fast-paced and task-oriented,
Yep.
up here that are pioneering. Who better to kind of represent that than the Apostle Paul?
That's right.
Right?
Paul really embodies this, right? He is so task oriented. He literally says in the word, this one thing I do, right? And he is so fast paced. You cannot hold him back. You cannot keep him from going to share the gospel where it's never been heard before, unless you just like literally lock him in prison.
Yeah, you put him in
Yeah.
jail. And even in jail, what did he do? Hey, can I borrow a pencil over there? I'd
Yeah.
like to write a few
Yeah.
letters if you don't
Right.
mind, And so that person is task-oriented and fast-paced. What if you're fast-paced, but you're people-oriented? Who better than Peter, for example?
And he does this. He's so lovable. He's so unfiltered. He's so exuberant, so people oriented. When Jesus says, who do people say that I am? He blurts out the first answer. When he sees Jesus coming in a boat, realizes who it is, he doesn't have time for the boat to catch up. He jumps in the water and swims to him. He is on that fast-paced, exuberant, connecting path.
Yeah, and if you're watching, what's the television series?
The Chosen?
The Chosen.
Yeah.
You can
Oh, yeah.
see that living color
Yeah.
with Peter.
Right. They bring those to life.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then if you keep going around the wheel here and you get to people that are unwavering, these are folks that are people oriented, but now they're slow paced.
Right.
Okay. I don't know who's better representing that group than John in the gospel.
I mean, here's John the Beloved. Here we are in the season of Lent. So this is particularly poignant for me right now as we think about that, because he's the one at the foot of the cross. He is unwavering. He is fully present. He was there for Jesus. Not only that, Jesus entrusted the care of his own mother to John because he knew he would be deliberate. He would be unwavering. He would love her. He was people oriented.
Yeah, he didn't invite Peter to come do
Right.
that job, right? Because Peter would have gone, absolutely, Lord, I'll be there, right? You need me to jump out of the boat, I'll swim to it, whatever I need to do, right? But he would probably get distracted along the way, meeting some other people or be late or what have you. All right. And then you keep going around this and you get to this kind of quadrant up here that would still be slow paced, but now task oriented.
Right.
And maybe Thomas is a good example of that.
We love Thomas. I mean, Thomas gets a bad rap. Doubting Thomas is what we think of. But the truth is, Thomas was an analyzing mind. He was deliberate. He was slow. He was going to make a decision based on truth and fact. And Jesus didn't condemn him for that. He just met him in his own personality with the facts. Touch my hands, touch my side. He didn't want Thomas to miss out on the gift of belief because he deliberated on facts, but he met him there. That personality is such a gift in so many ways.
And so if you think about it, if we're coming up on tax season, who would you want to do your taxes? Somebody that is slow paced and task oriented, or somebody fast paced and people oriented? I want my accountant to take their time, right? Do it right. How about surgery? You want your surgeon to be fast paced and people are no. do it right. Or how about you're going to invite someone to have a fun dinner party together and 7 or 8 people? Well, man, you want someone that's fast paced and people oriented. They're going to keep that conversation lively and make it fun. They blurt out stuff that you're not expecting and all kinds of. So you get the idea. There's value in all 8 of these kinds of personalities.
Right. And they're the gift and really that unique chemistry we have in married life based on your personality and mine together. It's unrepeatable.
So this is kind of we built the foundation here of our little house tonight. That we want to camp out on that, do some direct teaching on it. But Chris and Karen, does that make sense? Any questions, any comments about this page on personality and our hardwiring?
I think you explained it really well, and the examples that you gave helped a lot, like the left-hand thing. Just appreciating, that's probably really big in marriage. I'm guessing if you can just appreciate your spouse for who God made them. Yeah,
and even celebrate that, right? Because early on in marriage, I remember I didn't understand why Leslie couldn't get tasks done like I did, and she'd be interrupted, with a call from a girlfriend or whatever. And it was only midway through our marriage that I realized that is such a gift. It helps me. It makes me a better person because of the way she is, because we happen to be opposites on that front. Chris?
Yeah, I would add this too. Even though we're on the exact same pedal, we're also quite different. And so, I was reading through this. I think later on it talks about we can be the same, but also different. And there's different nuances that we each have. But also just being male and female, there's differences as well. So even though we're on the same pedal, there's still a lot of differences between Karen and I.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's a great setup to the next page. If you look when we get into the combination of your 2 personalities, this is the only tool that we know of that actually looks at, only assessment tool, that looks at the combination of your 2 personality types. And so once again, you have a paragraph up here that you can read through, agree with, disagree with, process, talk about it, your strengths. But I want to highlight this section down here at the bottom. Do you see that? Those parts at the bottom are really kind of where the rubber meets the road.
I love that because listen, personality is insightful. We have aha moments, but we have to get practical. What does that really look like between us every day in married life? Yeah. Right.
And so the first one is problem solving. Did you know that 25% of our conversations in marriage are dedicated to solving a problem? Right. What are we going to do about dinner tonight? That's a problem.
It's a big one.
We're going to solve that problem, right? What are we going to do about the kids and the opportunity they have for summer school? Whatever it is, there's all kinds of things that are happening that have to be solved and talked about. And some of us are aggressive problem solvers. Some of us are reflective. Some of us are somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Chris and Karen, where do you end up on problem solving?
Not aggressive for me, that's for sure. It takes a long time to make a decision.
Yes.
But deliberating it's not putting it off. It's thinking about it, praying about it, finding out information, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it takes me. It's very hard for me to pull a trigger. Like I can do all the research and I'm just about at that point, but it's very hard to make the final decision.
Yeah.
So where do each of you land on the continuum? You're obviously towards reflective more than aggressive. How far into aggressive are you? What are your numbers?
Into reflective.
Yeah, reflective.
Reflective, we're both 9.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay.
that's
Most
a
of us
pre-
nothings.
Right.
That's a
So,
preference.
so you're
Yeah.
extremely reflective. I'm guessing that makes you very cautious decision makers as well. The last one down there, are you high on that? Cautious?
Yeah, 9 and 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Really extreme.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So
And-
like if we said, hey, can we go to dinner next Wednesday? You guys are going to think about that before you just go, yeah, let's do it. Right.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Right. Does it-
Yeah.
would it make-
And I love what Karen said. She said it's not that we're inactive or we're, putting it off. We're busy reflecting. We're busy working a process, giving it due diligence. So reflective problem solvers aren't just avoidant about problems. They want to give a little time to see what becomes clearer. They want to pray about it. They want to take some steps further, to research or whatever it is. So that's a very different energy than an
Yeah.
aggressive.
I
problem
came home
solver.
from a late night lecture. It's maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I kissed Leslie. I said, hey, I know it's late. Any food for me? And she said, yeah, I'll cook you up something. And she said, but the sink is backed up. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, it's been backed up. And I go around the corner. Sure enough, it's backed up. And I said, how long's it been this way? She said, all day. I said, what have you been doing? She said, waiting for you to get home. And I picked up my phone and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm calling George. And George is a friend of mine. He's a plumber in our neighborhood. And she said, no, it's way too late to call George and Arliss. That'll be embarrassing. And I said, are you kidding? He's going to love it that our sink is backed up. He'll be here in 5 minutes. And she said, no, let's just give it some time. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, let's just go to bed and let's see how it's doing in the morning. I said, do you think little fairies are going to come in here and work on our sink while we're asleep? But I'm an aggressive problem solver. She's a reflective problem
Right.
solver. She is not at a 9 like you guys are. You guys would give it probably like a week before you started working on that.
Imagine how long it took to put this together.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. So, and I would guess that reacting to change, this has got to go with your personalities
Yeah.
too. That third one down there, that you guys are more resistant than accepting of change. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
9 and 10.
You guys like arrange the furniture and that's how it's going to stay. You're not thinking, how can we rearrange this? Right.
We've lived in our house for 26 years, so that tells you something.
Yeah,
When
Lois
We
is
don't like change.
When was the last time you rearranged the furniture in your living room?
2018.
Oh, 2018.
No, 2021.
2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty.
Well, it's time for a refresh after
Yeah.
26 years. So yeah.
How would you guys feel about switching sides of the bed with each other tonight when you go
Oh,
to sleep?
we actually did that.
That was
What?
crazy. We did that a couple months ago. Yeah.
That's radical.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
They're shaking it
And the
up.
kids were like, "Oh, you're on the wrong side, Mom. You're on this side, Mom."
Well, you guys get the idea. This section, you're going to want to have some discussions about that. And
Right.
I think that it's one of the most practical. We could talk about that all night long because there's so much richness that can come out of that when it comes to problem solving, influencing each other, reacting to change,
Right.
and making decisions.
Remember, again, it's all about awareness and empathy. And it just opens windows of grace. The more you get yourself, the more you get your spouse
Right.
in these areas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now we've fully laid the foundation.
Right.
Is there any page that you particularly want to camp out on? I have some of my favorites that I'll turn to, but just in case, I want to make sure that we cover any topic that you guys are wanting.
Conflict or communication.
Well, I think we definitely should talk about communication.
Yeah, you guys we're going to take too much time for you guys to deliberate what. next
Careful
thing,
and make
so,
a wise decision. Yeah.
Well, communication is a pretty straightforward page. I'll just highlight this and we can cover some more ground, but it's looking at how you're hardwired for a conversation.
Right.
And I will just pass along two helps because communication, it's the lifeblood of a marriage relationship. And Leslie and I, here we are, we have PhDs in this stuff. We read books, we write books, we talk about it. we're still working on the fundamentals. You remember when Vince Lombardi back in the day would hold up a football in the locker room, and what would he say to his players? Men, this is a football, right? When they weren't doing so well, it was his way of saying, let's get back to the fundamentals. Here's the fundamentals when it comes to communication in marriage. Two things, two fundamentals. One, clarify content. In other words, make sure you accurately understand what the other person is saying. Leslie and I, there's a new book out called Super Communicators that we just happen to both read this week. And so we were talking about it this afternoon, and Leslie said, one of the points is you got to really don't rely on just nonverbals. You got to make sure you're hearing it.
Yeah, because we need to feel heard. And when you're talking, it's not easy to pick up on, are they nodding? Are they giving me eye contact? So in order to feel heard, you have to do these two things.
You have to clarify content. And I said, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to communication. We're still working on the fundamentals. So clarify content.
Right.
So, we psychologists get a bad rap for sometimes saying is what I hear you saying is, but that's the reason why. And then the second thing.
And by the way, you're not just saying back, these are the words you used. You're trying to distill that message in your own words. Put your spin on it and check in. Hey, is that what you meant?
Yes, to accurately understand it. All right. Now, the second skill, a little bit more advanced, and that is to not just clarify content, but reflect feeling.
Yeah.
Reflect feeling. And it's like panning for gold when you're a skilled listener.
Yes.
You're listening with what Theodore Reich used to call the third ear. Some people call it aggressive listening. But you're listening not just to the verbiage, but you're listening to the tone. You're listening to the kind of the feelings underneath. It's you're panning through all the stuff and sifting through all the stone in the stand in order to find that little golden nugget, that little feeling, and hand it back to the person and go, hey, is this it? Is this how you're feeling? Yeah. You're the first person all day that really understands what I'm talking about here. That's what happens. Maybe sometimes you're the first person in my life that really gets it, right? But that's what happens when we reflect feelings. It opens up a person's spirit.
Yeah. And by the way, if this is a little intimidating, you don't always just have to get it right for it to work. Because sometimes people think, I don't even know for sure if I get the feeling. But you can say, wow, that happened to you. Are you feeling, it sounds like you're feeling a little anxious,
anxious or whatever, and they can clarify that back to you. Well, no, it's not so much sad as it is anxious or whatever.
And then you go, oh, okay, so now I get it. Wow, that was as long
as you're genuine. You can't just do it as a technique. It has to come from the heart for sure. But anyway, when you said camp out on communication, that's it.
It's called looping for understanding. That's now a technical jargon term. Make sure they know you got it. Message received. You've been heard.
Yeah. Sometimes in restaurants, we have a friend who's a cook, a chef, and when they're communicating, because every second counts in the restaurant business, and when they're communicating, they say heard, right? It's just their quick shorthand. Say, I got it. I know what you're saying. Heard. All right. So we don't want to do that in marriage. Heard, right? But what we can do is still convey that.
The idea is let them know message received. Yeah.
Turn to, does that make sense, you guys? Karen and Chris, does it make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Let me highlight this page, adaptability, for just a quick second. This is that capacity. This is page 8. And this is the capacity to adjust to things beyond your control. I wish that we could, package it and give it to every couple that gets married. Why? Because every good marriage, no matter how good it is, eventually bumps into something bad. And if that hasn't happened to you yet, put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Because it's coming. It's just every good marriage hits a jolt, hits something that just, you never planned it. You get married and go, oh, Leslie and I never got married, and said, I bet we'll have a son someday that's premature and requires tons of surgery and all kinds of special helps and gets dire predictions and so forth. But we did. That's a jolt, man. That'll shake your world up. Okay.
And you
Maybe-
don't get married thinking, oh, I'll probably, struggle with maybe a diagnosis of cancer
or
or
I'll lose my job someday,
Yeah.
or make a terrible financial investment, or have infertility or infidelity, or any number of jolts that can
Right.
happen to a couple.
or even just jolts that we never thought possible. Like, well, maybe there'll be a pandemic everyone has to react to, or
Right.
whatever it is,
Or that our son would act out and get on probation at school, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
This is your measure of how you're doing currently when it
Mhm.
comes to the shock absorbers on your marriage.
And this is not an unchanging thing, like
Right.
your personality that's so deep and inherent.
That stays the same.
Right. But this is something you can cultivate. In fact, literally, the act of sharing in this date night, investing in this assessment is already growing your soul in a more resilient direction with
Yes,
that.
so this is
Yeah.
state, not trait.
Right.
Personality is your trait. This is the state of where you are. So it doesn't matter. I mean, just look at this as a little quick barometer reading, but there's things that you can do, and you'll read about it in your action plan on how to improve that. So wanted to highlight that page. That's
And I just want to say really quick, there's a list of things that you can look for that are clues for you about when your spouse behaves this way. That is your clue. They are stressed. And that can really give you empathy,
Right.
because when you see those things happening in yourself or your spouse, okay, I need to throw them a line. I need to reel them in. I don't want to get defensive or shut down. I want to help get them out of this danger zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So does that page make sense? It's such an important one for so many people, I'm guessing, in the audience. I just wanted to make sure we highlighted it. But makes sense, Chris?
Yep. Thank you.
Let's hit a couple more pages here. Certainly, Chris and Karen, feel free to interrupt or direct us to something else. But I want to call your attention to the time page. Why? Because that's the second biggest complaint that couples have
Right.
in marriage. We just don't have enough time. That's page 9. And what this does is kind of unveil your time style so that you can kind of reclaim the moments you miss together in
Right.
marriage. And if you look at the little crosshairs on that diagram, you can see it's present versus future. Are you present oriented or future oriented?
Yeah, some of us live in the here and now, and we are just right here. We're focused on that. It gets our full attention.
Others of us are focused on the there and then.
Yep.
And we're excited about what's around the corner and what's coming down the pike.
What's about to happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're future oriented. And then some of us are unscheduled and some of us are scheduled, right? I happen to be highly scheduled. If you ask me about, what are you doing at 2:00 in the afternoon next Tuesday? I can tell you whether it's free or I have it booked for something else, right? If you ask Leslie, hey, how about getting lunch next Tuesday around 1:00? She doesn't look at a calendar.
Nope.
She doesn't look at her phone. She kind of looks up in the sky and she goes, yeah, that feels good. Let's do that. Right. Even though she's an incredibly busy woman, I don't know how she does that,
I love unscheduled.
but she is
Yep.
unscheduled. She also happens to be present oriented, which makes her an accommodator.
Right.
All right. So as you can see in this diagram, we're not putting you 100% in any one of those, unless that's how it turns out for you. But you might be a little bit of. But how many of you are the most dominant in the accommodator? Your biggest percentile score, like Leslie, is an accommodating. Raise your hand, would you? Okay. All
Okay,
right.
I see my people there.
Some hands
Yeah.
going up. So these people like to accommodate time.
Yeah, we're accommodators because in the moment, right now, I want to make sure there's flexibility to accommodate whatever seems most important and delightful to do in this moment. I don't want my schedule to take that option away from me.
Now, if you're
Yeah.
more concrete and you're scheduled and future oriented and you're married to an accommodator like I am, I happen to be a planner. All right. So I'm scheduled and future oriented. How many of your dominant score is there in the planner area?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yep. So you'll identify with this. Leslie said we were I don't know, this is a while back, but she said, hey, let's go down the street to Starbucks. I think we have enough time. We can walk down there and get something to drink and come back. I said, no, there's not enough time. She says, it's only like 5 minutes down there. I said, no, it's like 15 minutes down there. She said, well, it feels like 5 minutes. I said, I don't care what it feels like. It's 15 minutes, right? And so that's how we begin to have awareness about how each of us processes time differently.
Yeah, because what I'm doing right now is everything I think about. You're thinking about how what right now is happening impacts the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember the other day when we were planning dates?
Oh, yeah. You know, he thought trying to have a date night.
We headed out we had our time scheduled, but we didn't have any plans. Neither of us had chosen a restaurant or an activity or anything else. And so we're going, what should we do? What should we do? And I said, I got an idea. I said, why don't we go out on this date night and we will plan our next 5 date nights? And she said, that sounds terrible. That's like the worst date night there's ever been.
I could hardly hold my body up after that. All the energy just is gone.
Yeah. So,
but that would be so fun. Then you would love living into those future moments.
Yeah. Because then I can look forward to that. But I'm a planner and I'm a dreamer.
Right.
Okay. How many of you are processors? You're present oriented and scheduled. You're processors.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I love this because you guys are present oriented, but you're scheduled. So that means that, let's say you and I have a coffee date and we're going to have time together. You are so with me and you're hanging on every word and you enjoy our time. But the minute your calendar tells you it's time for the next thing, you check out, you wrap up, and you are gone. You process very deliberately through your day.
Yeah. Right. So fully engaged when that's on the schedule.
And checked out when it's time for the next thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, Karen and Chris, where do you guys land on this? What's your dominant category?
Planner.
Planner?
62% for me and 52% for Chris.
So you're both. Wow, you guys are like twins, aren't you?
No, not really.
It never
It appears that way.
All relative when it comes to being alike. That's the truth. But
It means we're a lot of fun to be around, probably.
absolutely.
I'm sure you
If
are.
you have a lot of time.
As long as it's scheduled. All right. So let's look at one more page here, and then I know we're going to wrap here in just a minute. Well, I think we can just touch on both these last.
I was going to say,
pages.
let's please do.
So this page, harmony. By the way, this is not your report. This is a
Clarifying that.
prototype. Yeah. But this report is, this page of the report is almost like an X-ray for your marriage. It's the closest we'll get to it. At least.
This is so fun. It reveals things. And by the way, this is nothing to be afraid of because this opens windows of possibility.
Yeah. So everybody's list is unique. Nobody's list is the same right now. It's going from where you're most satisfied and harmonious.
High five those things.
Absolutely. Celebrate those things to the places where you're not feeling connected.
Right.
All right. And you're least satisfied. So it might be quality time. It might be goals, friendship, in-laws, any number of things, anger, whatever it might be. And so what I'm going to challenge you guys to do in the audience is look at the bottom of your list, the bottom 2 or 3. Okay. And then choose one of those and say, hey, let's do something about this. We don't have to live with dissatisfaction here. And by the way, sometimes it's one person that's dissatisfied and the other person is going, I don't see a problem with it. I'm fine, But
this sheds light and creates that empathy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we suggest is choose one of those bottom 2 or 3 and go, let's do something this year. Let's make 2024 the year we get on top of parenting as a team or whatever the thing is for you guys, right? And what does that mean? Well, maybe you're going to read a couple books. Maybe you're going to read more than a couple books. Maybe you're going to do an online course. Maybe you're going to see a counselor. Maybe you're going to make sure you come to the next date night at the church. Whatever the thing is, you're going to just be more intentional.
Yeah, and this helps you not just to work hard without knowing what matters, but to know exactly what to focus on and work smart to move the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Karen and Chris, I'm not going to ask you to reveal your list. I'm going to ask you just what's at the top of your list. Where do you guys find the most satisfaction in your relationship? The most harmony?
I would say the one that's at the very top is feeling like friends.
Yeah.
And I would say that's completely accurate. I mean, I would say even in the last few years, I think Karen would agree that we feel more like close friends than we ever have before.
Great. That's great. So the research says celebrate that.
Yeah.
Don't take that for granted, right? Not every couple feels that way.
Right.
So,
That
yeah.
deep companionship, which is amazing.
Last thing, you see this page on love languages? Love languages. This is something that I want you guys to tune into because everybody probably knew their love language before you even took this assessment. But when was the last time you were doing something deliberately about it to fill up your spouse's love tank? Now, if your love tank numbers are low, don't be discouraged because you don't have to guess how to get those numbers up. You just need to learn how to speak your spouse's love language. Not even learn it. You just need to do it.
Do it.
Yeah, right. And so if it's, words of affirmation, if it's quality time, if it's receiving gifts or acts of service, which is mine, by the way, Leslie's happens to be words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And so, or physical touch, wherever you are on that, just pay attention to the one or two that kind of top the list, not just for you, but for your spouse. That's the point.
That's your leverage to connect. I mean, that is your quickest path to beat to your spouse's heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if you're here tonight and you're just going, man, I'm not feeling the love these days, here's a quick solution to this thing.
And by the way, that doesn't mean your spouse doesn't love you. They just might be misguided in how they express it. And this is how they can do it in the way that you receive the most deeply.
Yeah. So there you go. And by the way, I should say, Chris, I don't know if I mentioned this when we were talking on the phone or not, but Gary Chapman, who wrote this wonderful book, The 5 Love Languages, he's 86 years old. I called him when he was 80. We've been friends for a long, long time and speak a lot, through the years together. And I called Gary and I said, Gary, did you know you're 83? And he goes, I know. And I said, you don't seem 83 at all. He goes, I know. And I said, but what's the plan? And he said, what do you mean? I said, how do we make sure generations from now, people are still leveraging their love language? And long story short, we have, if you enjoyed this tool, we have a brand new tool that's coming out exclusively about the 5 love languages. It's called the 5 Love Languages Premium Assessment. And
That we did together.
we did together and with Gary and a team. And it's, again, 15 pages, but really kind of thin slices.
I mean, and let me just tell you, this is hope giving because, like you mentioned, my love language is words of affirmation. And you kind of thought a big part of that was to encourage me. You can do this. I believe in you.
Right.
And I'm like, actually, no, I just want compliments.
Yeah.
And that's, and you're like, oh, okay. So if you tell me my eyes are sparkling, that goes to my heart, right?
Or if I say, I really like that sweater, I know
Get ready.
she's going to wear it for the next 3 days. So
I'm taking this off because it's gonna, right? But the truth is, that's what the premium, if you find that it's still a little bit mysterious, you can get to know, like, and your acts of service. I didn't understand that if I can do something, not so much that shows you just that I care,
right.
like turning down, I used to turn down your, blanket at night, and get you ready, that you would come in if I went to bed before
A
you.
definite act of service. You didn't have to do that, but it meant very little to me.
Not a big deal.
Hey,
to
what's
you.
the thumbs up on my
Yeah,
screen?
that's,
awesome. See, even my computer agrees with me.
but
And I realized it's all about saving time.
right. If I go stand in a long line at the post office and mail the tax letter certified mail and you don't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah, in
My
1
love
year.
tank
Yes,
flows.
right.
So you guys get
There's
the
a lot
idea.
to unpack about the nuances
Yeah.
of each of these.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So Chris and Karen, are you guys speaking each other's love language? You guys probably have the exact same love language, don't
We're
you?
pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
We're both high quality time.
Yes.
High quality time and then next physical touch. Those are our highest ones.
You're sitting around deliberating on everything.
33 and 23.
Karen was like, that can't be true.
Hold
And
on,
then
we need to think about this for a while. Give us a minute.
Yeah. Google it a little bit more and take new assessment by all means.
Could you, before we end this, could you guys go just 30 seconds or a minute and just talk about the action plan really quick?
Yes.
Glad
You
you
bet.
brought it up.
Yes.
Yeah, so don't miss out on this. This
Right.
action plan, it's 40 pages. It's
They already have
yeah,
access to it. Yeah.
absolutely. And so it's fun. First of all, I want you to know it's not homework.
Which is what you need to hear, because when you hear a 40-page action plan, that gets a little daunting. This is fun.
It's discussion starter.
Right.
It's ideas
Fresh.
for date nights. But here's what we know from research.
Yeah.
This is independent studies, not just us, other people doing research around this. We know your level of contentment and happiness, satisfaction will increase by 31% on average
As a
over the
couple.
next 7 weeks as a couple. All right.
Yeah.
Over the next 7 weeks, if you do this action plan. So think about it. Wouldn't you like to be almost a third happier and more content than you are right now?
Compelling.
Even if
Yeah.
you're good, you can move from good to great.
Right.
And so it's going to outline 4 date nights that you can do together
Yeah.
and super easy and fun to do. So don't miss out on that action.
Creative ideas, insights, great questions. So you have better conversations around this stuff.
Yeah.
Don't forget to leverage that.
All of that, what'll it do? Increase your love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Expand your love.
Better love.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for reaching out. Obviously, this was a complete God thing. Would you give Les and Leslie just thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
What a
Our
privilege.
pleasure.
Extremely helpful. Thank you so much, you guys. Well, before we dismiss, I just wanted to debrief on just a couple quick things. A few things that I wrote down that I think maybe would be just great for us to just before we leave here. One of the things that I wrote down was just celebrate the difference. Celebrate the difference in your marriage. Celebrate the differences in your spouse. I made a comment that even though Karen and I are so similar, there's so many, I can think of so many differences that we have. And that's completely God designed. God made us and God put us together for a reason. And I just wrote down one example. Like, for instance, Karen and I are extremely similar, but at the same time, like, for instance, in the finances, like, I'm definitely the spender and she's definitely the saver. And that is that helps us, that makes us better. By celebrating her differences, by celebrating the fact that she is a saver and she helps me with budgeting, helps keep me from spending all kinds of money, we're better. We're better together. So first thing is just celebrate the differences in your marriage. That is a good thing. And then the second thing I just wrote down was I don't know if you caught this. He mentioned that they're still working on the fundamentals. So if Les and Leslie Parrott are still working on the fundamentals of marriage, what a great testimony for us. And I just wrote down just invest and work on your marriage. Just maybe this is one thing that Karen and I do, or we try to do as often as we can. What we're doing right now is we're sitting on the couch, and Karen probably says this more times than I do.
You would just say it as a joke.
Yeah.
Because I say it.
Yeah, Karen says it more times than I do, but I know how much it is, how important it is for us to sit on the couch and talk together. And it might only be, 10 or 15 minutes, maybe just a debrief from the day, but just the importance of just spending some quality time together and just talking, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just want to encourage you, just work on the basics, work on the fundamentals, maybe just a simple 15 minutes a day or as much as you can, just hang out and just have a conversation. And then I guess the last thing I just wrote down with you talking about the love languages is know your spouse's love language. That's so important. I know what fills Karen's tank and she knows what fills my tank. Know what fills your spouse's tank. That's huge. And that just helps you have a much better marriage. So with that, we're going to dismiss here in just a minute. I just wanted to highlight a couple quick things before we leave. First, if you have kids in childcare. If you would go get them as soon as possible. If you want to hang out and chat, that's awesome. But go get your kids first. And if you would, thank you those who are watching your kids, because they're volunteering tonight, and they're so appreciated. And so if you would do that. The other thing I just wanted to remind you is we do have some couples out in the Welcome Center who would love to talk with you about life groups. So if you have any interest in being in a life group, or any interest in even hosting or leading a life group, we would love to chat with you. They also have information on current groups that we have available as well. So make sure that you visit with them, okay? And I'm going to pray, and then we're going to dismiss. Father God, I thank you so much for the gift of marriage. Thank you for this ministry, God, that we can just pour into and invest in marriages. And just so grateful for the parrots and just the learning opportunity we had tonight. God, I pray that we'd be able to take, even if we just took one thing tonight home with us to implement in our marriage. God, help us know what that one thing is. Father, maybe on the ride home tonight, we have a conversation, just, hey, this one thing, we need to work on this one thing that we're going to put into action. God, I just pray that you would help us, and help us grow, help us be better, and more importantly, that we grow closer in you so we'll have a more godly marriage. Thank you so much for tonight. Just pray blessings as we travel home and this weekend. We pray this in your holy and precious name, the name of Jesus. Amen.